Holy crap, we made it. It's the May 2-4 weekend, the unofficial start of summer, and I've got a couple of reading suggestions for you. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the 905, the channel where we talk about comics, collectibles, and whatever. My name is Rob. Thanks for tuning in. Do me a favor, hit the subscription button down below. Would really appreciate it. Also, if you like this video, do me another favor, hit the thumbs up, and as well, you can hit the notification bell. New videos every Tuesday and Thursday. So, as I said at the beginning of the episode, this is the May 2-4 weekend, and so for those of you who may not be in Canada, for my listeners or viewers down in the US, which may only be one or two, this could be applicable for next weekend for you, your Memorial Day weekend. I think is a long weekend for you, but up in Canada, it's a huge deal. The May 2-4 weekend, obviously a play on words because we're all going to crack open a 2-4 beer and chug it back, bro, and maybe go for a rip in the lake. Yeah, it's the May 2-4 weekend. It's currently sunny outside. It's quite nice. You may be thinking to yourself, Rob, why are you not recording outside? Really selling us the idea that this is the long weekend, the unofficial start of summer. Why are you doing it from the office in your basement? Hey, good question. Unfortunately, a lot of construction happening behind me. So seeing as how this is the first long weekend of summer, the unofficial start of summer, even though technically we're still in spring, I wanted to give a couple reading suggestions for you if you're heading out to your cottage, if you're planning on spending the long weekend chilling by the pool in your backyard, or just somewhere in your backyard, or maybe just, off camping for the weekend. Here's a couple of suggestions I wanted to give you, and I'm going to be honest with you, right up front, they are not comic book suggestions. They're books, because we can read books without pictures in them, can't we? Yes, we can. So the first book I wanted to mention is called Slugfest, inside the epic 50-year battle between Marvel and DC, written by Reed Tucker. I got a copy right here for you. I'm going to put a link to where you can get this book in Canada, whether it's at Chapters or on Amazon. But this book is phenomenal. This really does explore the battle between these two titans of the comic book industry. Right back from the beginning, when you have Stan Lee, you got Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko doing creating what would become the Marvel Universe. And then you've got Bill Finger and Bob Kane in DC Comics going on with what's happening there, including the Simon and Schuster issue with Superman. I mean, we probably know a lot about the conflicts that a lot of these creators, these artists and writers had with the respective companies, but then to see them kind of the two companies battling each other, with Jim Shooter fighting with Jeanette Kahn, for Marvel and DC respectively, and argue, not fist fighting because that didn't happen, but pretty close. I think at some points there were pretty close to some fisticuffs. Maybe some tables went flying during a meeting. But this is it's a great read when you're diving into comic book history. And again, we may have some, semblance of an idea, or we've heard some stories in the past on what had happened between these two companies and their very full history, including how they actually came together and the coming together and making their a combined effort with Superman and Spider-Man, and then as it progressed forward with some other collaborations and how they all fell apart as well. So I would highly recommend Slugfest, the inside the epic 50-year battle between Marvel and DC. It's definitely a great read, especially when you're kicking off the summertime. You need something to just sit back, chill, and get into. And it's on brand with this channel, isn't it? I think it is. And the second book I'm going to recommend this week is Console Wars by Blake J. Harris. This is Sega and Nintendo and the battle that defined a generation. Obviously, there's a theme here. Marvel versus DC, Sega versus Nintendo. But if you were a child of the 80s, you would... I feel like there's a fly buzzing around here. If you were a child of the 80s, you would remember how much fun it was to be kind of involved in this whole battle with your friends on the school playground. Were you an NES guy or kid? Were you a Sega Genesis kid? Did you have the SNES? And on and on and on. And honestly, this reads, even though it's a recounting, there's a lot of interviews from the people who were instrumental during the 80s of both companies. It reads like a novel, and it's very hard to put down. It's really engrossing. There is a foreword by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Seth Rogen, obviously, you know. I believe that they have a movie that they're making on this. There is a documentary special on called Console Wars. I believe it's on Paramount, CBS All Access or Paramount All Access. We don't really have access to it in Canada. So for my friends in the US, and again, there might only be one or two of you. Hey, Scott. You probably could watch this after reading this book. But at any rate, I would highly recommend it just because, again, it does bring you back to that time in the 80s. And admittedly, I was an NES guy, but I also had a Genesis. So I was like Blade the Daywalker. I was walking both worlds. But that is my recommendation this week. It is the long weekend, and it's good to kind of sit back and crack open a good book. Yes, obviously, I'm a big fan of comic books. We've talked about it, the omnibuses and the trades and the collectibles and the floppy issues and all that. Comics are great, but I think it's healthy to have a good balance with other books as well, be it fiction or nonfiction. And my recommendation this week for you, whether it's this weekend or any time throughout this summer, is Slugfest, the epic 50-year battle between Marvel and DC, and Console Wars, the battle between Sega and Nintendo. I am going to put a description or a link to both of these books in the description below. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do me a favor, leave me a comment. Have you read these books? Is it something that you're interested in? Do you want more mini reviews of these books? Let me know. Also, again, please do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button, the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Some mystical algorithm that I'm really not quite sure about, but apparently it helps. And tell your friends as well. So I would really appreciate it. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy the weekend, bud.
No fight.